Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation. My name is Indriati and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share with you today a simple research study that I designed in the field of English language teaching. As students and future teachers doing research, even simple classroom-based research is very important. It helps us understand our students better, evaluate our teaching methods, and improve the learning process. In this presentation, I will walk you through the steps of my research idea, starting from the topic and research question, followed by the research method and instruments I will use, how I find relevant reference, and finally, how I avoid plagiarism in academic writing. Let's begin. The topic of my research is improving students' reading interest through the use of English short stories. These topics come from my own classroom experience and observation. I often notice that students in junior high school, especially in grade 8, are not very interested in reading English texts. They often feel bored or they think the texts are too difficult. That is why I ask myself, what if I use English short stories that are fun and suitable for their level? From this, I created my research question. How does the use of English short story affect students' interest in reading in class 8 of SMP? This question is simple but clear. It allows me to focus on a specific group of students, a specific teaching method, and a specific learning outcome which is reading interest. A well-written research question like this helps guide the entire research process. Okay, next slide. Research method. For the research method, I decided to use a quantitative approach. Why quantitative? Because I want to measure something that can be counted. In this case, the students' level of reading interest before and after they read English short stories. The results will be presented in the forms of numbers, such as scores from a reading interest questionnaire or results from a reading test. This method is useful when we want to compare data, such as whether students' interest increases after being exposed to a particular activity. In it is also helpful to use graphs and tables to show partners or trends in the data. I believe that this method is appropriate because it is simple, measure, and objective. Next, slide 4. Research in instruments. To collect the data for this study, I plan to use three research instruments. First, a reading interest questionnaire. This will contain a set of Likert scale questions where students rate how much they like reading, how often they read English materials, and what kind of text they prefer. The scale may range from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. This instrument gives a general idea of the student's perception and attitude toward reading. Second, I will use an observation sheet. As the teacher. I can observe and record how engaged the students are while reading the short stories. Do they smile? Are they focused? Do they discuss the stories with friends? This tool helps provide data based on actual behavior, not just opinions. Third, I will use a reading test given before and after the treatment. The test will assess reading comprehension and vocabulary understanding. This instrument shows whether there is any academic improvement in addition to change in interest. Combining these three instruments will allow me to get a deeper understanding from different perspectives. Students' feelings, their behavior, and their performance. Next, slide 5. Finding reference. Now let's talk about finding reference. Doing research is not just about collecting data. It must also be supported by exciting theories and previous studies. To find this, I usually start with Google Scholar, where I can find academic journal articles. I also look for books, handbooks, and previous theses from university libraries. One of the key references for this research is the Routledge Handbook of Second Language Acquisition and Language Testing, which explain how to measure language learning outcomes like reading skills or motivation. I also research for studies related to reading motivation, story-based learning, and the use of short stories in EFL classroom. Having strong reference helps me explain why my topic is important and how my approach connects to what other research have done. It also helps me choose the right method and instruments. Next, slide 6. Avoid plagiarism. In any research or academic writing, it is very important to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism means using someone else's words or ideas without giving them credit, and it is considered a serious academic offense. To avoid this, I take several steps. First, I always try to paraphrase, that means writing ideas in my own words instead of copying directly. Second, if I to use the exact words from a search, I put quotation marks around it and mention the author and genre. This is called a direct quote. Third, I always include a complete list of all the books, articles, and websites I use. This is called a reference list or bibliography. For example, I can write according to present one 1982. Interesting and comprehensible input is key to motivation. And in the reference list, I write questions, participles, and practice in second language acquisition bergamo. Next, um, finally, we come to the closing part of this presentation. In summary, I have shared a simple research idea based on a real classroom problem. The low interest in reading among junior high school students. I proposed the use of English short story as a trigger to increase their interest. I explained how to use the quantitative method, design the instrument, find reference, and write responsibility to avoid plagiarism. I hope this example gives you an idea of how we, as English teacher or teacher candidates, can do classroom action research in a meaningful way. Even a small project like this can bring valuable insights and improvement in our teaching. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this presentation is useful and inspiring. Good luck with your own research and see you next time.